Much, Eric, and thank you so much again, Eric, and welcome to everyone uh, for this afternoon session of introduction to the census data, or Census 101 as we call it. My name is Mac Trees, and I'm a data dissemination specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau. I'm also joined by my colleague, Meredith Maxwell. As Eric mentioned, this is the first of a series of 3. There will be other sessions that will dive deeper into other topics, such as the community resilience. If you are interested in learning more about social vulnerability, that will be a great resource as well. And then the third series, or the third session, will be covering a deeper dive into the American Community Survey. So that will really give you more social, economic, and demographic statistics if you're looking at geographies down to the census tract level. But before we begin, we wanted to let you know that we do welcome your questions during this time or during this presentation. So feel free to write them into the chat box, and we will go through them throughout the presentation. If we can provide you with the answer right away, we will put it in the chat box. If not, we'll go through them during the Q&A. Also, a copy of this presentation will be made available to you within the next 24 to 48 hours through Eric or Lawrence. But at this point, we'll be turning off our camera as we go through the presentation, just to help with any issues with the bandwidth. At this point, I'll be turning over as well the presentation to Meredith, who will be taking us through the first part of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Mac. So for today's session, we're going to cover the following: just a brief background on who we are, the Census Bureau. Then we're also going to provide you an overview of decennial census and ACS, otherwise known as American Community Survey, a little bit about their history, and a very high-level overview of what products are produced and how the two surveys differ. And then at the end, we're going to provide you a demonstration of census tools to access data, including the Census Survey Explorer, which is a little visualization resource, and both the narrative profiles and data profiles. And then at the end, we'll show you some additional resources and hopefully have enough time for Q&A should you have any questions. All right, so who are we? So the Census Bureau is the federal government's largest statistical agency, and our mission is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people, places, and economy. The Bureau has been headquartered in Suitland, Maryland since 1942 and currently employs about 4,500 staff. There are also regional offices in Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, New York, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles. And just for your understanding, as data dissemination specialists, we are also situated regionally. Mac and I both currently cover California, and I also cover the state of Nevada. The Census Bureau is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. You may best know the Bureau for the decennial census, which happens every 10 years, the last one being held in 2020. However, the Bureau does more than that. We conduct more than 130 surveys and programs each year. This includes the most popular American Community Survey, which is an annual survey that goes beyond population and housing counts by providing social, economic, housing, and demographic characteristics. We also conduct the economic census, which collects statistics about businesses and takes place every 5 years in the years ending in 2 and 7. In fact, last January, the 2022 economic census released the first look at the national level summary at the 2 to 3 digit NAICS codes, or North American Industry Classification System. And this past December, the Census Bureau released statistics at the state and other selected geographic levels, again at the detailed 2 to 6 NAICS and the 7 to 8 NAICS base codes. I know that's a lot to digest, but we just want you to understand that we are more than the decennial census, much more. The next major release for the economic census will be, it's coming up this month, in February, which will provide comparative statistics for the US, the states, and selected geographies at various NAICS codes. And you can find out more about our surveys and programs at census.gov/programs-surveys. Don't worry about writing that down. We will again provide you a PDF copy of this presentation for you to reference at your own leisure. All right, moving on. So, oh, sorry, 1 second here. Froze up on me. There we go. Okay. So to understand what the decennial census and the ACS are and why they exist, we need to discuss a bit of their history. Every 10 years since 1790, Congress has authorized funds to conduct a national census of the U.S. population, as required by the U.S. Constitution. So between 1940 to 2000, the decennial census included both the short form. This short form was only used to collect data from all households, and the long form that was used to collect data from a sample of the households. The idea of having the long form approach, it worked well at first, but the data became less and less current as the decade progressed after each decennial census. And by the early 1990s, the demand for current, nationally consistent data led policymakers to consider the possibility of collecting social, economic, and housing data continuously throughout the decade. Thus, the ACS was designed to provide this dynamic and timely picture of the nation every year. So the ACS, again, ACS stands for American Community Survey. It underwent extensive testing and by 2005 was fully implemented nationwide. As a result, from 2010 and beyond, the decennial census only consisted of the short form, which was sent to all households because now we have the ACS, which collects information each year and became the nation's source for social and economic data for population and housing characteristics. I know that's a mouthful, but we'll dive into it a little bit deeper, which will hopefully give you a better understanding of the ACS versus the decennial. So what you can see here is a little infographic that we put together based on decennial census data for the state of California. So based on the 2020 census, we saw that the state of California had a population change of 6.1%. So if you're following along, you can see that here, this percent change in population from 2010 to 2020. Or you can look at it numerically of more than 2.2 million from 2010 to 2020. And again, there's that population, just over 2 million, numeric change in population in between decennials. You can also see the list of the top 20 counties having the highest population in California, with the top 3 counties being Los Angeles, San Diego, and Orange counties as the most densely populated area. So these are just some really basic statistics that you can get via the decennial census. We'll go over a few tools today that will also highlight how to access some basic demographic data as well. So just a little fun infographic based on decennial data from the most recent 2020 census. Now, just getting a little bit more specific, if we were to take a closer look at the percentage of race alone groups here in Butte County, we saw some increase and decrease in population. You'll see in these tables, all alone groups had growth in population with the exception of the white alone group, which saw a decrease of about 17% or 30,000 population. So if you're following along here, you can see these arrows. You see white alone, there's a population change. Just over 30,000, you can also see that percentage that went down, negative 17%. However, the biggest growth in percentage is the NHPI at almost 27%, or Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander. And looking at numerical numbers, the Asian alone group had the greatest increase with more than 10,500. So again, we have all these race categories alone broken up so you can see how they differ within Butte. Now, if you're looking at the Hispanic or Latino, they had a percentage change of almost 30%, or a numerical change of almost 9,000. So again, some basic statistics that you can gather from decennial data. Let's see here if there's anything else I want to share here. Okay, we're good. All right, so this table provides information on the data products produced by the 2020 census by release date and geographic level. So if you see here, you can see the release date, you can see what's to be released, and then you can see the availability by geography. You can see our various geographic levels here at the top. And of course, a check mark here lets you know if that particular data is available at that geography. So we're down here at September 19th, which is the last release for the decennial census, which is the SDHC, or the Supplemental Demographic and Housing Characteristics File. Again, this is the last major release of the 2020 census, and it provides average household size and counts of people living in certain types of households. And most of the tables are also available by race and Hispanic origin. You'll also note this release provides data at the national and state levels only. Hence these two check marks here. Follow it up. You can see nation and state. Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about the 2020 census, I'd be remiss if I didn't let you know that the 2030 census is coming, as we are currently in the development and implementation phase, the penultimate phase before we actually conduct the 2030 census. In fact, we are preparing with the 2026 census test. Now, the 2026 census test will be the first of two major on-the-ground tests we conduct in preparation for the upcoming decennium. As we prepare for 2030, as we prepare for the 2030 census just a few years away, conducting testing like the 2026 census test gives us the opportunity to explore innovative technologies and methodologies to enhance our work to conduct a complete and accurate count of the nation. The 2026 census test will be conducted in 6 sites. These sites provide optimal opportunities to implement all the changes and enhancements planned for the test under real conditions and on a larger scale than research simulations allow. Together, these sites will enable us to test the improvements we're designing in our efforts to get a complete count of hard-to-count and historically undercounted populations. If you're looking here at the map, you can see the 6 sites here. You can see Colorado Springs. You can see various tribal lands within Arizona, parts of Texas, most specifically Western Texas, Huntsville, Alabama, Spartanburg, South Carolina, and parts of Western North Carolina. This combination of sites, it meets criteria related to geography, living quarters, staffing, various technical characteristics, and available budget, other systems, and resources. All right. So the next data source we're going to dive into a little bit deeper, as promised, is the American Community Survey, or for short, ACS. So you've heard a little bit about ACS, and you understand that it's an ongoing survey. But the cool thing about this is we send out about 3.5 million addresses annually, or about 295,000 addresses each month. So the ACS collects and produces detailed population and housing estimates, as well as social, economic, housing, and demographic characteristics. It covers over 40 plus topics that supports many federal government uses. It is important to note, though, that the survey, if you're wondering what it looks like when it comes, it's not mailed to a specific person, but to a randomly selected address. And I know that for sure because I got mine last week. No name. There is no name on the mailing. It only contains the address of the household. The process is typically that the randomly selected household address receives a mailing informing them that they've been selected and are encouraged to respond via paper or online. and it is mandatory. It's required by law. Okay, so I mentioned those demographic, social, housing, economic characteristics. When you receive the PDF, this would be a good reference tool to understand what characteristics fall where and how they relate. So these are the different topics covered by the American Community Survey. As mentioned, over 40 plus topics, and they're organized under these four categories or characteristics. If you look here at the population, if you look under these various headings, the demographic characteristics, you get data for age, sex, race, and Hispanic origin. I'm here on the left. Note, these are the same basic categories collected by the decennial census. That's why they're highlighted in red. You will also see the social characteristics category has the greatest number of topics, including educational attainment, language spoken at home, and ancestry. Moving over to housing, you can see characteristic topics allow you to better understand the housing stock, as well as the affordability of a community, like how much people spend on rent or mortgage as a percentage of their income. Other characteristics here include housing tenure, information about the occupancy and the structure itself, which includes home value and housing costs, taxes and insurance, utilities, plumbing, kitchen facilities, and many, many others. And the last characteristic that we have here is economic. And for the economic characteristics, we have topics that include income and employment and occupation, among other topics. So this is a good snapshot of some of the characteristics you can find when you're sourcing through American Community Survey data. When we go through the demonstrations through this series, this will all come together and make sense for you. I know right now it's just a bunch of data points and very on various topics, but this will tie in to the demos. So the ACS creates what we call period estimates, which means they represent the characteristics of the population and housing over a specific period. These are known as the 1-year and 5-year estimates. Now, the 1-year estimates, I'm here. Oops, excuse me. The 1-year estimates collect 12 months of data because it's conducted annually. It is more recent and very useful for geographies with rapidly changing characteristics, whereas the 5-year estimates collect a total of 60 months, which means it's less current. And because of the longer period of collection time, it also has smaller margins of error. The 1-year estimates also provide you with data of populations of 65,000 or more. That's important. With the 1-year supplemental estimates, including areas of populations of 20,000 or more. While the 5-year estimates provide you data for areas with less than 20,000. So if you're looking here, if you're looking at the 5-year estimates, because these numbers are greater than 20,000, all these population estimates will get the 5-year. Okay, but of course, to get the 1-year, 65,000 or more, if you're at 64,999, you will not fall here. It'll be the 1-year supplemental, so forth and so on. And these are our release dates. So we had our most recent vintage released in December, the 2019 to 2023 5-year estimates. So now the question is, which estimate should I use? Well, it depends on your need. If you need more current data that is less precise, you're going to want to use the 1-year estimates. If you need more precise data, but not as current and smaller margins of error, use the 5-year estimates. Okay. Now, this diagram is a diagram that highlights our various geographic concepts. It shows you the hierarchy of census geography and displays the relationships between them. So if you're looking here at the main spine, this shows how each entity nests within each other. There's no overlapping boundaries. Whereas the horizontal line are the entities that may cross boundaries, these lines here. So for example, census tract may cross over a city or a school district boundary. But note, the smallest entity is the census block. Census blocks down here. And this data is only ever released through the decennial census products. The ACS provides data only up to the block groups. So if you're referencing, if you're looking for data, just understand that the lowest geographic level you're going to get for ACS are block group. If you need below that, it'll be decennial data only. All right, so I want to provide you another snapshot of our geography just to kind of show you how these various entities nest within one another. I know the arrows are going left to right, but it's, for me at least, it's easier if we go from the smallest level of geography to the largest. So here you can see the census block, and you can see how that census block would nest within a block group. So now we're at ACS level here. Here, decennial, now we're starting ACS level geography. And we can see how the block group nests within the census tract, which is a larger geographic entity. And then we can see how the census tract nests within the county. And then we can see how the county nests within the state and how the state nests within the nation. Okay, so as I start to wrap up here, I just want to highlight how the decennial census and the American Community Survey differ. So the ACS is different from the decennial census in that the decennial census, again, happens every 10 years, whereas the ACS is conducted every month and released every year. The decennial census gives you total population counts and basic demographics, such as age, sex, race, Hispanic origin, do you rent or own your home? And ACS provides you with an estimate of the population together with more detailed demographic characteristics, such as education and employment, even commuting to work and languages spoken, etc. And just want to reinforce that responses to both the decennial and the ACS are extremely important. The ACS helps provide local and national leaders with information they need for planning and programs. Example, for community needs assessments, creating policies, grant writing, applications, etc. While the decennial counts helps to determine congressional representation and how federal funds are distributed. So now you have a high-level overview of the ACS and the decennial census. I am now going to pass this over to my partner, Mac, who's going to take you through some data tools and resources.
Right. Thank you so much, Meredith. Hopefully that gives you a bit more kind of context on the two most popular programs and surveys that we have for the Census Bureau. Sometimes we're being asked for, population data and or demographic characteristics, and it just makes more sense to kind of have some understanding of how they're different from each other and up to what type of geography can you find that data set. So now I'm going to try to show you some of the tools that you can utilize in accessing those types of data. If you wanted to follow along, you are welcome to do so. You might as well open up your own web browser. Our preferred browser is Chrome, but obviously if you want to use Edge or Firefox, that would also be good. All right, there are various tools that we have, as I mentioned, and these are just a couple of the tools that are accessible to everyone. These are all publicly available and can be accessed very easily. For instance, we have like my congressional districts, so all of the data sets are actually kind of like combined, and you're able to download it based on congressional district areas. Or if you wanted to find out more about American Indian and Alaska Native, you might want to also check out my tribal area, and much, much more. So we won't be going through all of them, but I will be taking you through specifically what we call narrative profiles, as well as quick facts. Um, so we'll start with the narrative profiles. So if you are wanting to find easily available data on the American Community Survey, specifically for the 5-year estimates, because I'm sure most of you would be wanting to go down to the census block group levels. This would be a great source. It's technically not a tool, it is a table, but it provides you with information or summaries of information in a non-technical text. So basically it's a text format. Together with some graphs as well as table links as well. So you should be able to navigate through all of our vintages. So vintages is what we call the years of release for each of the ACS, as well as different geographic areas, such as if you wanted to go, as I mentioned, down to the census tract level, or even going down to the zip code tabulation area level. So you should be able to navigate narrative profiles in getting that type of information. So I'll go ahead and switch over to our site. So our site is census.gov. If you can open up your web browser again, you can type it into your web browser. So this is our landing page, and it might be a lot if you haven't gone through our site yet. It does have a lot of like quick links to the various surveys that we have. Sometimes we're being asked about help about a survey, and I think I just wanted to point out that you can find answers to those questions, specifically if if you find somebody asking, am I really in a survey? This might be a good resource to lead them to, because then they can verify whether the survey that we receive is legitimate. And we have other information here about population as well as other economic indicators. However, we'll be staying on the top here, and this is how usually we navigate, is by using the tabs on the top of the site. You have topics, data and maps, surveys and programs, and resource library. What we will do is stay within data and maps. This is where you will find the data tools and apps, and this is where you can find some of the lists, tools on the list that I showed you earlier. If you go in there, and I'll show you that in a bit, that's where you will find all the tools and apps that we have accessible. However, as I mentioned, the narrative profile is technically not a tool, so you wouldn't find it there. It will be under the surveys, which would be under the American Community Survey, or ACS, as we call it. So if you're here, go ahead and click on ACS, and it should go directly to the landing page of the survey. So within the landing page, on the left-hand side, you will see more links or hyperlinks to the various data sets. We will be going into what we call data right here. Once you click on data, it should lead you to another list of links. Bear with me, we're almost there. So go ahead and click on data tables. And here is where you will find all the available tables that is for the American Community Survey. So you have what we call comparison table. If you're looking for tables that compare 5-year to 5-year estimates, this might be a great resource for you. We have data profiles. Those basically combines a lot of the different characteristics that Meredith mentioned earlier into links to specific tables, specifically for those categories that we mentioned earlier, and so on and so forth. But the narrative profiles is right here, as you can see. So go ahead and click on narrative profiles, and that should lead you to the tool called narrative profiles on the ACS website. So I'll go ahead and click on narrative profiles. And once we go into the landing page, it's similar to what you saw earlier, where we have all of the vintages available for you, which could go all the way back to 2015 if you were interested in getting data, or if you wanted to do historical data for ACS. But again, this only applies to the 5-year estimates. So if you're looking for 1-year estimates, we will have to go to the primary tool, which is data.census.gov. And we will tackle that tool on the third, I think the third series, where we will dive deeper into ACS. Now, as I mentioned, you are able to select the geography. For this particular demonstration, we will be visiting the geography of Butte County. So I'm going to go ahead and select county, and that should prompt you to select a state. Once you click on that particular link, it should open up to an alphabetical list of all the states available. For now, we'll go into California. As we said, we will look into Butte County, and it will prompt you to choose the county. So again, there's a drop-down menu, and we'll again choose Butte County. So once you have both the state and the county selected, it will give you the link to get the narrative profile. And it does tell us that you've already selected Butte County, California. So we'll go ahead and click on Get Narrative Profile. Just give it a few moments and it should load the narrative profile for Butte County. So once it opens up, as I mentioned, it gives you the data in both text and narrative form. So it covers a lot of different topics, such as households and families. So here we see for Butte County, majority is actually married couple households, followed by those that are female householder with no spouse or partner present. If you scroll down, it also provides information on marital status, those who have never married, or even those who are divorced or widowed or separated, or even those who are never married. If you're interested in nativity and foreign born, it should also give you that information within just this narrative profile. Majority of the population within Butte County, it seems like almost 50% are from the Latin America in terms of region of birth for foreign born population. And then we also have information on languages spoken. Although this languages spoken only gives you the 4 major language groups, which is Spanish, Indo-European languages, and Asian Pacific Islander languages, and other languages. There are other specific tables if you wanted to dive deeper into specific detailed languages. Now, what's great about the narrative profile, which I wanted to share with you, is that you can also view this table, or sorry, this graph into table format. If you click on view table format, it should give you the table itself. The other thing is that outside of just those two, is that it leads you, there are links that would lead you to the primary tool that we have to access data, which is data.census.gov. So for instance, if you're interested in education, the source of this particular data table set is actually DP02, selected social characteristics in the United States. As you can see here where it says source. If you click on this, and I will go ahead and do a right click and open in a new tab so that we don't lose this particular page right here. As you can see, it opens up to another table, or to the main tool that we have, which I mentioned, which is census.gov, data.census.gov. It leads you to DP02. As I said, social characteristics in the United States. It tells you that you are viewing Butte County and that it's the 5-year estimates based on the filters that were already predetermined based on the link, right? So here you are able to view the full table based on just one click. So if I minimize this view and so that you can see a bit more of the table right here, it provides you both the estimates as well as the margins of error and the percentage, as well as the percentage of the margin of error. And then if you scroll down, again, it provides you with all the details, not just education. It even provides you with information on school enrollment, as well as veteran status, disability, and many more. So it's just a great way to immediately access a table if you're looking for information on educational attainment. So what else is here? As I mentioned, you have other topics such as disability, even employment status, the industries where they are mostly employed at. Um, and then you have also information on commuting. Maybe that would be of importance. Those who are using public transportation, or maybe those who are working from home. Um, and you can even compare this from previous years as well if you go back to 2014 or even the 20 other previous years. So it's just a great source of information if you're looking for data sets very quickly. It just gives you almost all of the demographic and social economic characteristics, kind of like covered that Meredith covered earlier. Now, what is great about the narrative profiles is that sometimes I'm also being asked about a particular census tract, trying to look for census tract so and so, but I'm not sure exactly, or my address is this, but I am not sure what my census tract number is. And in fact, narrative profiles allows you to do that. If we go back to the top very quickly now, I'm sorry about that. If watch your eyes. You can click on change geography. And once you do that, it will prompt you or bring you back to the narrative profile landing page. And you have the option of doing use address lookup right here in this link. And once you click on this, it will prompt you to put in your address. So for instance, let's check this address up, which is called Kapa's address, 2015 J Street in Sacramento, California. And once you have the address written down, all you need to do is look up the address, and it will basically search for all the matches um, corresponding that address. So here you will see it actually belongs to census tract 11.02, and the zip code is 95811. It's within Sacramento City, and each of these would have a link to a particular narrative profile. So if you were interested in looking at the census tract level, you can also generate that type of data similar to what you saw earlier, where we have the different demographic, social, and economic characteristics in both text and graph and table format. All right, so I hope that that was helpful, and you would be able to utilize that if you were doing some research, specifically if you're looking for American Community Survey data sets. All right, so the next tool that I wanted to share with you is called Quick Facts. I'm not sure, maybe you probably have utilized this before, but what we love about this is that it's really an easy to use application that provides table and charts of frequently requested statistics from many of the Bureau's censuses, surveys, and programs. So the data profiles are available for the nation or a national scale, as well as the 50 states, as well as the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, and counties, cities, and towns. So you should be able to get all those geographies with a population of 5,000 or more. So if you're looking for uh, um, data that is below the 5,000 mark, the best tool would still be data.census.gov. All right, so let me go ahead, in the interest of time, let me just go ahead and quickly go to our main site, and let me just show that to you. If you just click on the Census Bureau logo, it should go back to our landing page. And as I mentioned, if you hover within data and maps, under data tools and apps, that is where you will find a full list of all the tools and apps that we have, and everything is listed alphabetically. However, in the interest of time, I've already pre-opened Quick Facts. You can also like type that into your web browser and open up Quick Facts. So here within Quick Facts, what's great about it is that it's kind of like a comparison tool. So you are able to compare up to 6 geographies across different characteristics. So for instance, you want to compare population, breakdown on race and Hispanic origin, housing, and other characteristics listed down here. And you should be able to do that by just typing in the geography that you want to compare. And then I'll show you a bit more about the different functions of these other icons right here on the navigation tool. So we'll go ahead and compare 6 counties within California, specifically, I'm sorry, cities within Los Angeles County. So we're going down into the city level. So here we're going to go ahead and put in Los Angeles as our first city. I'm going to type in Long Beach as well.
Sorry. How did you get to that again? I was
Oh,
looking.
yes. Go ahead. I'm so sorry. I was very quick. So if you click on our census logo again, let me just go back from the beginning, go into data and maps.
Okay.
And go into data and tools right here. And once you click on that, it's listed alphabetically. And I know that it's on page 2. So I'm going to go ahead and click on next page. And so if you scroll down, as I mentioned, it's alphabetical. And so if you scroll down to Quick Facts, it's right here as a data tool. And go ahead and click on Quick Facts. And there you go.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Apologies if I went too quick. So if you're here right now, let me know if you still need me to go through this or you're fine to follow along. Okay, great. So I have 2 cities already. I'm going to take out, by default, you have the US, right? But I'll take that out because we want to compare 6 cities. And you can just click on the X mark and that will be taken out. All right, so we'll add on a couple more cities here. Riverside is what we'll put here, Riverside City. And then we'll also put in Irvine. And you can notice that these are actually the top populous cities within Los Angeles County. So Irvine, California, and we'll add in Santa Clarita. And lastly, we'll put in San Bernardino. All right, so now we have the 6 cities that we are wanting to compare across. And this will show you in terms of population, you have some of the icons right here. It will give you an idea of like, where is this data coming from? So for instance, this population estimates are all coming from the current population survey. If it will allow me to click on the icon, seems like it's not. Let me just refresh here for a moment because it seems like I have to reload. Yeah, if you click on the icon, it gives you the information on the actual source of that particular data set. So this is coming from our population estimates program, or PEP. Similarly, you will have here population census, which basically tells you it's coming from the decennial census, right? You have both 2020 as well as 2010, and you can compare across which has, maybe the largest in terms of population in 2020 or in 2010. And then you also are able to compare the others, which would be, we have breakdowns here about age and sex, race and Hispanic origin. In terms of population characteristics, maybe you were interested about foreign-born percentages. You also have information on housing, living arrangements, computer and internet use, those with computer as well as those with broadband internet subscription. Seems like for San Bernardino has, I guess, the least, or yeah, at 87% of those with broadband subscription. And then you have education, health, transportation, and then you also have information on businesses. And this is coming from, the information is coming from our county business patterns. And some of them also will be coming from different resources. Like this one is coming from the annual business survey. So again, it gives you information on what those references, or sorry, those data sets are coming from. Because sometimes the data sets will not be available at certain levels of geography. So as you can see, it's not available on a city level. You might be able to get that total establishments. If you go up a level, maybe on a county level, that might be available for you. And then if you're looking for information on population by square miles, it's also here. If you're interested also on the FIPS code, it's right here. So really great resource, very quick that you can get the data set and compare it across six geographies. One other thing to also show you is that you can map this data set by clicking on the mapping feature. If you click on map and just select any of the geographies that you have, it will create a map of that particular selected geography. And as you can see, it will take a bit of time. Okay, so right here is the map. I selected San Bernardino, but if you wanted to, you can zoom out a little bit and it will actually show all the geographies that you've chosen. Oops, I think I've zoomed out too much. But yeah, but you can see if you just grab the map, you can see that, Riverside, the ones that you basically wanted to compare. And there's a drop-down menu here if you wanted to go and select a specific fact. If you click on the drop-down menu, you wanted to know about or map out persons under 5 years and the percentage, you can go ahead and select that particular fact, and the map will change accordingly based on that particular characteristic. So now, as you see here, there's a legend for those that are like a lighter shade, means lesser density of the 5 years, persons under 5 years. And you have those at 7.1 to more than 24% darker shaded areas. So you kind of get a bigger picture of like people under or persons under 5 years. This is a great tool. So you can always change that fact depending on what you wanted to view. So very quickly, just on to the chart function right here. You can select that and view the selected locations. Again, it will change and give you the data set in a chart format. And again, it's easy for you to just grab this data set and incorporate that into your research or whatever it is that you're working on, making it easier for you to just get that data. Now, if you are interested in downloading the table, you can do that by just clicking on the more. You can print or download it on a CSV file. All right. So that's really quick facts in a nutshell. I wanted to have a bit more time in terms of question and answer, but just wanted to share with you that we also have other sources. If you are interested in doing your own self-learning, we have what we call the Census Academy within our site. We have within the Census Academy, which we are part of, data gems. These are kind of like short 5-minute videos that you can that is so easy to follow, and it's bite sizes. I call it bite sizes because they're easy to digest. And many topics, covering many topics. In fact, Meredith conducted or created one of those under Quick Facts. And then you can join some of our recorded webinars. We do have upcoming webinars as well, and you can check that out within our site under the Census Academy. All right, so at this point, I guess I just wanted to check if there were any questions that we can field before we close out.
On the narrative profiles, so it gives you a bunch of different statistics and data, but is there a form that it would create with all of that data? Or like, can you select certain pieces from that?
Which one was that again?
The narrative profiles?
You mean to download?
Yeah. So
yeah,
like,
so
wanted to
yeah,
grab a group of that, the
Yeah.
information that was on there,
Mhm.
certain information that applies to maybe a grant that you're applying for.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for that. Right now, there is no like quick way for you to kind of like download this data set into like a table, or what you can do is print the screen, or you can do the cutting tool from
Right.
your, yeah,
Just
and copy that. However,
okay.
if you go and like if you're looking for the specific like marital status, and there is a source that you can see and it links to data.census.gov, once you open that, as I mentioned, from here you can download the entire table
Right.
by just clicking on Excel or CSV. Then you should be able to download the entire data set corresponding to that link that you did or you clicked on.
Okay.
Yes, but in our third session, I will be taking you through data.census.gov, which is this, because it does take a while to navigate this as well, but we will be talking that on our third session. So we highly recommend if you can come back and attend as well and join us, we'll be happy to walk you through data.census.gov as well.
Thank you.
Great question.
All right. So if there's nothing else, I just wanted to let you know that we are part of the Data Dissemination and Training branch. We welcome any other opportunities to provide you other data training that might not be covered in this 3 sessions. So feel free to reach out to us either through census.askdata or through just sending us an email, or maybe even Eric or Lawrence can let us know. We'll be happy to accommodate your request. The only thing that we would like to request from the attendees today, we will be sending out a survey link about our training. We really appreciate any feedback that you can provide that will help us better our training sessions. We always want to improve ourselves, and we welcome the opportunity to hear from you on how we'll be able to do that. With that, I'll bring it back to and give it back to Eric. Thank you, Eric.
Yes, thank you, Mac and Meredith, so much for your wealth of knowledge and for your time. I know I certainly learned a lot, and I was trying to imagine all the different possibilities that some of this information could be used, both within community action and outside. I know have to imagine a lot of parties rely on this information, so thank you for what you guys do to help make it available. How was this for everyone? I just want to get a take. Like, Maria, you had some great questions. Do we feel like this is helpful for us, that we'll be able to use some of this in our community action plans, programming, as you mentioned? Excellent. Excellent. Well, as Mac, okay, great. Thank you, Antonia. As Mac and Meredith and myself all mentioned, this is part 1 of a 3-part series. So we are going to have Mac and Meredith back with us on March 19th and April 16th to continue teaching us what we should know to be the most equipped and dangerous with the census data for our purposes. So we look forward to having them again here soon, and keep an eye out for those invitations. And please, yes, if you have any questions, reach out to them or reach out to Lawrence and I. We can get you in touch with them. And I look forward to seeing that survey come our way, guys, so we can help you out on our end. And
Thank you.
yeah, with that, I wish us a great rest of our day.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.